So up next, we have Dan Greene. Now, many may recognize Dan from 2017 when he spoke last. What we're going to do from now on, I learned last year that bringing those former speakers up, Brian, Dwayne, Chip, all the others who spoke last year, that resonated. And so former speakers, we're going to bring them up from now on. And so our first one is Mr. Dan Greene.
Oh, thank you, Joe. Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it, 100%. Obviously, everyone in the room is taking Brian Willis's words to heart. You have embraced the suck, and you have invited me back for a second round. Thank you very much, everybody. Ta-da, tip your waitress. So when Joe asked me to speak with you guys tonight, and by the way, thank you all for sharing your time with us. Really do appreciate it. He asked me to speak. I started thinking, right? Topics, messages, law enforcement disciplines. Where do I want to go? What do I want to talk about? And I started thinking of these things. And the only one thing that really came to mind, regardless of what the message was I wanted to be positive. So Ralph here has asked the question, what has become clear to me since last we met? And this is one of the two things that has become clear to me since last we met. It was fucking hard to find something positive to talk about. It's probably getting recorded. There's the F-bomb. It was hard. Have you guys felt the same thing in the last couple years? I'm thinking of topics to think about and they go, I want to be positive. Nope, that's sad. What's my message going to be? Nope, that angers me. What's my message going to be? Nope, that depresses me. Nope, that angers me. Nope, that angers me. Nope, that angers me. That came up 24 times, I'm sure. And I found myself pretty amazed by this, because the other thing I also learned, not only was it hard to find this positive message I wanted to deliver, was I'm a pretty positive guy. I think if you happen to know me, you'll think of me as a pretty positive guy. Kind of like a silver lining guy, right? One of my old friends calls me Sugarcoat Dan. I always seem to find the silver lining in things, or I help him undo the mess he's made and bail him out on a very regular basis. So I've got the message. I finally came up with something, all right? And it's these 3 words. We will win. We will win. So for the next couple minutes, I want we will win to kind of resonate in your hearts and in your minds while we finish our discussion. Because I'm thinking, we will win. Now, how did I come up with that? For years and years as a younger man, my dad had a poem on his wall in his office. And that poem is on the wall in my office today. And it's fair to say that for the last 20-something years, I've read that poem a couple hundred times. So let me paraphrase it for you. A man's walking down the street, and he comes across a blacksmith's workshop. And he looks inside the window, and he sees on the floor a bunch of broken hammers, dozens of them. Broken, dented, destroyed, dinged. All these other words that start with D. There they are, right there on the floor of the blacksmith's workshop. And the man stops and asks the blacksmith, wow, look at all these hammers. How many anvils have you gone through to destroy so many hammers? And the blacksmith says, just this one hammer. And the author of the poem goes on to think to himself, this anvil reminds me of the Word of God. And after thousands of years of doubters and skeptics and haters and critics taking their hammers and hitting the anvil with it, these hammers find themselves broken and discarded on the floor, but yet the anvil remains. So over the course of time, I have thought to myself, how else, outside of my faith, how else does this analogy apply to my life? How else does it apply to other things outside of my faith? My life, my family life, my law enforcement life, professional life. And then Joe asks to speak at Emerson Hour, and then I struggle over finding this positive message to deliver, and then I read that poem, and I go, I think I got it. We will win. I have no idea what an anvil's made out of. I am not a blacksmithologist. I'm not even staying at a Holiday Inn, all right? I know it's metal, but what kind of metal? I'm stumped now, okay? However, I do know this. I know what you are made out of. To all of our sworn personnel and our professional personnel that help us day in and day out in this room, I know what you're made out of. I know what I'm made out of. And I know what our law enforcement brothers and sisters are made out of. We are made out of materials much like the hammer, the anvil. The hammers suck, remember, they're broken. We're made out of materials much like the anvil. We're made out of materials that are meant to last. We're made out of materials that are meant to endure. We're made out of materials that are meant to take a beating. They're meant to, they're there. It's meant to take a beating. But guess what? When dented, when dinged, when chipped, the anvil can be repaired. And quite often, like a real anvil, the anvil comes back stronger than what it was originally. What are we made out of? Trustworthiness, integrity, strong work ethic, customer service, community belonging, and about a dozen other characteristics that when forged together create the anvil of law enforcement, our culture, the anvil of law enforcement. Made out of materials much like an actual anvil, made out of materials that are stronger than the hammers beating down upon us. I have no doubt about it. 25 years in law enforcement, and I have no doubt about it. Do you think hammers are falling upon us today? For sure, right? That's even a dumb question. Of course they are. But so were they roughly 15 years ago, early on in my career, when my dad was a police officer. Hammers have been beating upon us for quite some time. But why does our anvil remain? Because our anvil, our culture remains because it's meant to endure. Because it's stronger than the hammers that fall upon us. And we are meant to win. That's why I'm so confident that the challenge I give myself and the challenge I give all you guys, men and women walking the halls of ILETA, is to go home to your agencies, continually remind yourself you're going to win. Tell your friends, your coworkers, your students, your chiefs and your sheriffs and your managers that we're going to win. Tell the person you hate, that call-dodging son of a bitch that you can't stand. Tell him we're going to win. And they're going to go, Dan, you're crazy. Why do you even think that? It's because what we're made out of. It's because what we're made out of. And if you have forgotten what you're made out of, let me help remind you. And if I have forgotten what I'm made out of, help remind me. Because when we repair one another, we come back stronger. So that's the positive message. Our anvil. We're stronger than the hammers that are designed to fall upon us. And at the end of the day, law enforcement's culture will remain, and we'll be standing around a bunch of broken hammers. And our critics and our doubters and our haters will be highly disappointed, but we would have won. Thank you. Enjoy your week. Appreciate the time again to having me. Stay safe.
Awesome. Yeah. Very poignant message. And, as they say, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another, right? What are you doing to keep the sword sharp? What's Dan Greene working on? I said softballs.
Softballs, yeah, right. Here's what I'm working on. There's two people in this room today. I'm not even going to give names. I don't want to spoiler. I'll tell you later. But here's what it is. There's two people in this room today, outside of my dad and his poem, that had a direct impact on today's conversation. Just a matter of weeks ago, the two closest, some of my closest friends, we had a challenging conversation, like challenging each other about our beliefs in culture. And at that started the ball rolling on this. So what am I doing? Continual learning, opening my mind to other people and their attitudes about things and their opinions about things. Allowing them to shape and reshape mine, and just being and allowing them to repair mine, right? Allowing them to repair mine, and then having developed that anvil analogy here for this speech, just acknowledging that if I'm dented and dinged, I've got some close buddies that are going to help repair me and come back stronger.